Good morning and welcome to Morning Mistakes. My name is Tony and today is Improvement Tuesday. Here at our morning show, we dedicate every Tuesday for improvements, whether that is personal, business, or investing. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about something that covers all of them, and that is how to achieve your goals. And I know that most of us have been through a goal setting course before, but today we're going to look at it from a slightly different angle. To help me provide this twist, we're going to use one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite actor, Will Smith, as Chris Gardner in an old classic, The Pursuit of Happyness. And this movie may be old, but it's gold. And today we're going to look at 4 steps that you need to know to accomplish a goal. And before jumping straight into the steps, I want to take some time to talk about dreams and goals. And this movie has so many fantastic scenes, so let's just jump straight into one of them to talk about just that.
I'm going, bro!
Oh, okay.
So to give you some context of what's going on, Christopher, the son of Chris, dreams to become a pro basketball player. Let's see how his father Chris reacts to this.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll probably be about as good as I was. That's kind of the way it works, and I was below average. So you'll probably ultimately rank somewhere around there, so you'll excel at a lot of things, just not this. I don't want you out here shooting this ball around all day and night, all right?
All right.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So often this is actually what happens to our dream. Even before we can turn a dream into a goal, somebody would say, why not aim for this instead? It's more realistic, or discourage us in another way. And a sad part is that it can be anyone, even family. Another way that can shatter a dream is life. You grow up and you find how hard it is to become an astronaut and how many sacrifices you have to give up to become that. And then you think that the pain is not worth it and you toss the dream away. All in all, dreams are the easiest things to shatter and the hardest things to keep alive. Let's see what happens next and how you can keep a dream alive.
Hey. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
It is just as Chris says in the movie. You got a dream, you gotta protect it. And only if you protect a dream for long enough can it actually become strong enough to become a goal. And only through perseverance can that goal become a reality. And today is actually all about that. So you might ask, what is Chris's goal and what is the first step to achieve a goal? Let's take a look at that.
Man, I got 2 questions for you. What do you do and how do you do it?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker. Oh, shit. Had to go to college to be a stockbroker, huh?
You don't have to. Have to be good with numbers and good with people. That's it.
Hey, you take care.
So immediately we quickly establish what Chris actually wants in this movie, and that is to become a stockbroker, because he can confirm what kind of association that comes with that job, i.e. the money and the sports car. And this is also the first steps that we have to know to achieve a goal. We need to know what we want and why we want it. And the more specific we can draw this picture, the easier it is to achieve. We now know what Chris wants, and in the next scene, we're going to find out why he wants it.
I still remember that moment. They all looked so damn happy to me. Why couldn't I look like that?
Oh, happiness. And this is because he's currently surrounded by a bad environment. He doesn't have a good relationship with his wife, they live in a crappy apartment, he made some bad business decision and can't provide any stable income for his family. And actually, worst of all, he can't afford anything good for his son, like a decent daycare. But now he has enough reasons to turn his dreams into a goal. And this led him to take like massive action to change the circumstances. So he applies for an internship to become a stockbroker. But the problem is,
The program took just 20 people every 6 months. One got the job. There were 3 blank lines after high school to list more education. I didn't need that many lines.
so the odds are heavily against him and he doesn't know if he can get accepted as an intern, much less get a job because he's frankly unqualified. Okay, let's try to set up this scenario. If you could choose between an adult who graduated Harvard Business or one that just finished high school, I think that 99.99% of the time you would choose the Harvard guy. So let's see how Chris solved this problem. And it's also part of the next step to achieve your goals.
Taxi!
Mr. Twistle. Yeah, hi.
Hey, Chris Gardner?
Yeah, hi. Listen, what can I do for you?
I submitted an application for the intern program about a month ago, and I would just love the opportunity to sit with you briefly.
Listen, I'm going to Noe Valley, Chris. Take care of yourself.
Mr. Twistle. Actually, I'm on my way to Noe Valley also. How about we share a ride?
All right, get in.
So Chris knows that he's outgunned and the only way to actually get his foot inside the door is to display a quality that others don't have or other won't do instead of just being paralyzed by his weaknesses. And in this case, he actually waits for the manager Jay for a whole month just to show him some quality that he thinks that might get him through the door. He ends up getting through the first hurdle by impressing Jay with a solved Rubik's Cube, which shows that he's highly intelligent despite not having a formal higher education. So the second step is to know yourself and play on your own strength. And we are all lacking something. If you were an old person, you wish you had the energy of a younger person. And if you are a young person, you wish you had the experience of an older person. Let's say if your competition for a job is a guy who is talented but lazy, then it would be suicide to try to beat him at being talented. You should instead try to, show your employer that you can work 10 times harder for the company. What I'm trying to say is, don't fight a losing battle. If you know you're losing in terms of strength, then don't compete in that area. Compete with speed instead. Okay, let me try to give you a real life example. Right now, I'm actually trying to lose weight, and the most effective way to do that is to eat healthy. My problem is that I quickly get tired of eating the same food. So instead of just normal meal preparation, where you basically eat the same thing every day for a week, I eat something differently every day. Don't get me wrong, meal prep is a very good strategy for most people, but just not for me. If I ate the same thing every day, no matter how hard I try, I would probably fail within days or best within weeks. But let's return to Chris and see how he again and again wins by using what he actually has.
Chris Gardner.
Chris Gardner. How are you? Good morning. Chris Gardner. Chris Gardner. Good to see you again. Chris Gardner, pleasure.
Look at their faces. They're not happy with the way he's dressed. And if they continue this as a normal job interview, they would never want to see him again. But let's look at how he changes the situation.
I've been sitting out there for the last half hour trying to come up with a story that would explain my being here dressed like this. And I wanted to come up with a story that would demonstrate qualities that I'm sure you all admire here, like earnestness or diligence and team playing to something. And I couldn't think of anything. So the truth is, I was arrested for failure to pay parking tickets.
Parking tickets?
And I ran all the way here from the Polk station, the police station.
What were you doing before you were arrested?
I was painting my apartment.
Is it dry now?
I hope so.
Jay says you're pretty determined.
You might ask yourself, what just happened? And even though this is an uphill battle, he actually managed to break the ice with his charisma. And not many people are able to do this, but his energy is just right. And with his enthusiasm, he actually decides to tell them the truth instead of waiting for them to pick him apart, and this ironically shows some quality that he wanted to display, like honesty. What he basically communicates to them is that no matter how bad the situation looks like, he won't lie, and honesty is the cousin of earnestness. Also, he gets some help from Jay, whose ass is also on the line by just recommending him, but that's another matter. But after he breaks the ice, he's now on the same footing as the other applicants, so let's see what curveball they will throw at him.
First in your class? In school? High school?
Yes, sir.
How many in the class?
12. It was a small town.
I'll say.
But I was also first in my radar class in the Navy, and that was a class of 20. Can I say something? I'm the type of person, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you that I don't know. But I bet you what, I know how to find the answer, and I will find the answer. Is that fair enough?
Chris, what would you say if a guy walked in for an interview without a shirt on? And I hired him. What would you say?
He must have had on some really nice pants.
So instead of just taking hits, because how impressive is it to actually be the best of 12 when the other applicants are the best of thousands, he decides to tell them, what he can do better, and therefore he changes the game to where he is the strongest. And I could go on about this all day because he does that a lot, but I think you all want to know what the next step is.
Whoever brought in the most money after 6 months was usually hired.
Yes, hello, Chris Gardner calling for Mr. Walter Hogg.
We were all working our way up call sheets to sign clients. From the bottom to the top.
Yes, sir. How
From
are
the
you? My name is
doorman
Chris
to the
Gardner.
CEO.
Okay.
They'd stay till 7, but I had Christopher. I had to do in 6 hours what they'd do in 9.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Gardner. I'm calling from Dean Witter.
In order not to waste any time, I wasn't hanging up the phone in between calls.
Okay, thank you very much.
I realized that by not hanging up the phone, I gained another 8 minutes a day.
Why, good morning to you. My name is Chris Gardner. I'm calling from Dean Witter.
I also wasn't drinking water, so I didn't waste any time in the bathroom.
Yes, I'd love to have the opportunity. Okay, no problem at all, sir. Thank you very much.
So the third step to achieve a goal is to do the most important work. In this case, Chris is doing telemarketing, and instead of just hanging up the phone or procrastinating by talking to other interns, he maximizes his time for the biggest chance to actually get the job. Because he knows that X amount of calls leads to X amount of prospects, and X amount of prospects leads to X amount of customers, which ultimately leads to more money for the company. And as we know, they usually hire the stockbroker who's brought in the most money for the company after the intern period. But Chris realized that even this is not enough.
But even doing all this, after 2 months, I still didn't have time to work my way up a sheet.
This is because Chris is homeless and must take care of his son after daycare, which results in that he works a lot less than the other interns. So instead of just going after every prospect he can get, he goes after the one with the biggest wallet. Because by the end of the day, the goal is to get the largest amount of money and not the most amount of customers. And identifying what the most important work to achieve your goal is very important. For instance, right now I'm actually trying to lose weight by eating healthy and exercising. But let's say that one day I had 1 hour and chose my 1 hour on exercising, and then later that day ate at Subways, then that would not help my weight loss at all. Because eating correctly is like 80 to 90% key of losing weight, whereas exercising is only 10 to 20%. So instead of spending the 1 hour on training, it would be a lot better to spend it on cooking and focusing on eating healthy that day. But back to the movie. So luckily for Chris, he gets on friendly terms with a CEO who treats him and his son to a football game.
And Walter Ribbon and his Pacific Bell pension money, which was millions. Yeah! It was a way to another place.
Wow, this is the way to watch a football game here. Thank you very much for this, really.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Chris.
Unfortunately, the CEO doesn't want to invest in Chris's firm, which we will watch a bit later, but because Chris has access to all the friends of the CEO, he ends up with a lot of prospect with deep pockets.
Absolutely.
Chris,
Hey, thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'm gonna give you a call.
Nice to meet you, Chris. Okay, give me a call. Okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So by doing the most important task, you actually drag your goals forward. And if you finish the task, you will feel satisfied by the end of the workday. For me, I personally exercise, improve myself, and finish my most important business task as the first thing in the morning. Okay, now I want to talk about the fourth and the last step, and I want you to try to guess it. And it is the scene where the CEO is gonna reject Chris.
We discussed the asset management capabilities of Dean Witter, which we believe to be far superior to anything you got going over at Morgan Stanley. And I think you're gonna be blown away. Point blank, Dean Witter needs to be managing your retirement portfolio.
You know, Chris, I didn't have any notion that you were new over there. I mean, I like you, but there's not a chance I'm gonna let you direct our fund. That's just not gonna happen anytime soon, buddy. So, you know, come on, relax. Let's play the game.
If you guessed how to handle rejection, you were 30% there. But actually, it's more, how to take hits that life throws at you and still get up from it. It's, as Rocky said.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
The world ain't sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody ain't gonna hit as hard as life. Now back to the pursuit of happiness. So for Chris, many things goes wrong. He had to see his wife leaving him due to bad business decision. He had been kicked out of their apartment and later out of the motel and had to live a homeless life with his child. He even had to live in a public restroom with his child not to freeze. He donated his blood for a few bucks just to eat. He even had to lend $5 to his boss, even though all he had was $8, and he had to feed his child as well. But he had to keep up appearances if he wanted a future in that company. He had to endure all this while trying to make his dream a reality. So the reason why he gets up instead of just giving up on life is because of his reason to live, his why. He's doing all of this not for himself but for his son, to give his son a better life. And all this is worth whatever pain that life's put him through. So the only way you can achieve your goals when life is beating your ass is to get a strong enough reason for why you're actually doing it. So to summarize the steps of how to achieve a goal, you need to know your goals and you need to know how to make it specific. You need to know yourself and play on your strength. You need to know the most important task and actually do those tasks. And the last one is you need to know how to take hits and actually get up from it. And I think that life needs you to have learned your lessons before it can reward you with a moment where everything will change for the better. Let's try to take a look at Chris's moment.
I thought I'd wear a shirt today, being the last day and all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. But, wear one tomorrow, though, okay? Because tomorrow's going to be your first day. If you'd like to work here as a broker. Would you like that, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Good. We couldn't be happier. So, welcome. Was it as easy as it looked?
No, sir. No, sir, it wasn't.
Good luck, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, sir.
Oh, Chris. I almost forgot.
Thank you.
This part of my life, this little part, is called happiness.
And this is really what it looks like when you achieve a goal that is worth achieving. And this, ladies and gents, brings us close to the end of today's morning show, but I do want to show you one last motivational scene before that happens. Let's roll it.
Because when I was young and I'd get an A on a history test or whatever, I'd get this good feeling about all the things that I could be. And then I never became any of them.
So don't let your dreams be dreams, and remember to turn your dreams into goals. And with that, I would like to conclude today's morning show. And if you like today's content, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Before you leave though, I would like to hear what your next goal in life is. Please leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to read all of them. And as always, thank you for watching.